Hey, what's up everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again. It is that time of the month, my favorite videos to do. Time to talk about my favorite albums that were released this past month, April 2023. So another absolutely stacked month full of great metal albums. Let's see which ones made my list. When I did my March list, I got a little bit carried away. I think I ended up putting 20 on there. Usually I like to keep this between like 10 or 15. So this month I really tried to limit to just 15 albums. There are some other really great albums as well, but these next 15 that I'm going to talk about are the ones that stood out to me the most, the ones that I think I will be going back to re-listen to the most. Got a nice mix of genres in here this month, so let's just see what it is. Enough rambling on. Let's kick it off. So, coming in 15th place, I'm going with À la fin de l'univers with their album Le Voyageur. So this is a band from France that plays cosmic, atmospheric black metal. This album has tons of ebbs and flows, really crescendos in a lot of spots and kind of mellows out in others. Very typical of the subgenre of cosmic atmospheric black metal, very space themed, so maybe it's not gonna blow your socks off with originality or uniqueness. I have heard a ton of bands do similar styles before, but all that being said, it's very well executed. It's a very enjoyable album, and if you're a fan of the subgenre, definitely recommend you go check this one out. So go listen to À la fin de l'univers and the new album Le Voyageur. All right, up next in 14th, going to go with some Canadian content with Rite and their new album Trial by Chaos. So this is some thrashy death metal, probably more on the thrash side than the death metal, but it's got that kind of old school feel to it in the thrash metal that really like invokes those 80s vibes from those early death metal years when it was kind of a blend of thrash and death metal, and it just completely captures that vibe. This album is tons of fun. Easily my favorite thrash album of the month. I know a lot of people are probably hyping up the new Enforced album, but honestly, I think this one is a little bit better. I didn't end up putting the Enforced album on my list. It's decent, but I think this one tops it, to be honest. I just had a little bit more fun with this album. It's a little bit more interesting. Love the riffs, love the energy, love the vibe. That's why it's on my list in 14th place. Up next in 13th, going with Argenthorns and the album The Ravening. This is a band from Finland. This is a debut full length. This is some symphonic black metal. The best description I can give of this band is Baal Sagoth. This is pure Baal Sagoth worship. Like, if you didn't know this was not them, this would be some long-lost Baal Sagoth album that maybe they recorded a long time ago, because this perfectly captures the exact same style. So once again, a band that's maybe not doing something original, but they're paying tribute, paying homage to a band that clearly they are heavily influenced by. It's not to say that's all that it is. They're doing their own thing in places, but that's at least what comes to my mind when I listen to this. It sounds pretty identical to that style, but I really like that style, and I really like Baal Sagoth, so hearing a new album in this style is definitely a good thing, and it's a very captivating album. Definitely go check it out. The album art rules too. Check that out. Go listen to Argenthorns. Really solid release. All right, sticking with black metal, in 12th place, I'm going with Cursebinder and their album Drifting. So this is a band from Poland. I say black metal, but there's definitely a lot of like post-black metal elements going on here as well. Even some like electronic influence in spots. But this really just takes you on an emotional journey. Another one with a lot of ebbs and flows, really aggressive moments, then some more tranquil moments. But it's just really well done, a thoroughly engaging album from start to finish. Honestly, I really like this one a lot. I'm surprised I only have it in 12th, but there's just so many good albums this month. It's really hard to rank. But go check out Cursebinder if you have not listened to it. All right, up next in 11th, I'm going with Vorna and the album Aamunkoi. Probably mispronouncing that, so I apologize. This is a band from Finland that plays like folk metal mixed with pagan black metal. Really just kind of blending those styles together. And this is just epic as hell. The clean vocals that are in this album are absolutely excellent. Really dials up the epicness with these glorious cleans. They still have the harsh black metal vocals as well, but those cleans are really the shining star here. Just adds an extra level of epicness to it. Really awesome from start to finish. This one has potential to climb even higher as I spend more time with it. I mean, this only came out a couple weeks ago. I haven't listened to it a ton. I think I've only listened to it like 4 times. So as I listen to it more, I'm sure this could climb. I'm really enjoying it. So just because it's not in my top 10, don't write it off. Definitely worthy of your time. And like I said, this could even end up rising higher as I listen to it more. All right, now we're into the top 10, my 10 favorite albums from the month of April, at least on my initial impressions. Of course, these lists always change over time. Even ranking these 10 was very difficult. Something that's in 8th or 9th could end up rising to like 2nd or 3rd throughout the course of the year. Who knows? But anyways, let's see what I've got for my top 10. So just cracking the top 10 in 10th, I'm going with Smoulder and the new album Violent Creed of Vengeance. So, of course, Smoulder's probably most well known for featuring Sarah from Banger TV on lead vocals. This is some traditional, epic heavy metal. The first album that they did, I was a huge fan of. That was more on the, like, epic doom side of things. But the doom influence has kind of gone to the wayside on this album. They really upped the tempo and brought in a lot more of a classic heavy metal vibe. Not that there was hints of that on the debut, but this one has really dialed up the tempo. And in spots, I really enjoy it, but I kind of miss the doom aesthetic and the doom vibe that was on the debut, to be honest. On my first few listens, I do really enjoy this album. Obviously, I'm putting it in my top 10, but I don't know if I can say it tops the debut, at least for me personally. I find Sarah's vocals really suited the more doom stylings of the debut. It's like she's got a really unique voice. And when she's doing the more up-tempo stuff, some of the high pitches don't necessarily hit the mark, but I still like the unique approach. It definitely gives them a very unique quality that not a lot of other bands have, and it's a really fun album, so I don't want it to sound like I'm knocking it. I do still really enjoy it. If I'm comparing it to the debut, I think I prefer the debut, but this one is a different style, and it's still well done. A lot of fun. Go give it a listen if you have not. Up next in 9th, I'm going with VoidCeremony and their album Threads of Unknowing. So this is a hard band to describe. It's like progressive, technical, blackened death metal is probably the best way I can think of it. It is just full of amazing musicianship on display here. Like these riffs, every musician in this band really can play. Like there's so much technicality, but it's not just wankery. They still write some good songs. This is really solid stuff. Honestly, if you're into anything I just said, go give this a listen. Maybe the vocals are a little one note. That would be my one knock on it, but it still suits the music. I could use a little more variation there, but musicianship-wise, it doesn't get much better than this for this style of music. Absolutely crazy solos and just riffs and everything going on. Top-notch stuff in a 9th place. All right, up next in 8th, I'm going back with some more black metal with Austere and their new album, Corrosion of Hearts. So this is some depressive black metal from Australia, and this is actually their first album in 14 years. Previous album, To Lay Like Old Ashes, is an absolute staple of the genre for this style of depressive black metal, and I absolutely love that album. The vocals are insane, but then on this album, the vocals are not necessarily as crazy. It doesn't even really sound quite the same as the previous, but that's fine. It's been 14 years. Things change, their influences change, and they probably just didn't want to do an exact duplicate copy of the previous album. So take all that out. Yes, it's not on par, at least not yet, with the previous album, which is an absolute classic, but take this on its own, and it's absolutely amazing atmospheric black metal with that depressive edge. The vocals are still very tortured, and the soundscapes you are just going to get sucked into and lost. So although I don't think it's on the level as their previous album from so long ago, this is still very, very good black metal that is definitely worth your time and worth listening to. I was very happy to see that they were releasing another album, and it definitely did not disappoint. This one could rise higher as well, but for today, it's in 8th. All right, we talked about some depressive black metal. Let's go to the completely opposite end of the spectrum here with this next album. Angus McSix with the album Angus McSix and the Sword of Power. Can't even talk about this without smiling and laughing because it is so over the top and ridiculous. A lot of people will probably just absolutely hate this album, but if you are into over the top cheesy power metal, look no further than this album. This is just full of fun. It's gonna put a smile on your face. I mean, you got a song like Laser Shooting Dinosaur. You know this is not anything to be taken seriously. But that being said, the musicianship is still tight. This, of course, features Angus McSix used to be Angus McFife from Gloryhammer before. For whatever reason, they kicked him out of the band. He was a great vocalist, so I don't know why they did that, but if it results in us getting this album, then hey, I'm all for it. I know Gloryhammer's putting out a new album later this year, so I'll be interested to kind of compare them, see if they made the right choice or what, if we're getting two awesome albums or what's going to happen. But just looking at this one on its own, yes, it's super cheesy. Yes, it is completely over the top, but I don't care. It puts a smile on my face. It's really fun. Sometimes you're just in the mood to listen to something like this, and it definitely checks the boxes on that. All in all, super fun album, in 7th place. All right, up next in 6th, some more black metal with Welkin and their album Emblems of Valor. So this is a one-man band from Singapore, and I absolutely love this album. This has the potential to rise even higher. I haven't spent enough time with it, but the riffs on here, absolutely amazing. Love the vocals, and there's these really subtle folky touches, bringing in some obviously folk instruments, or not even necessarily folk instruments, but just folk influence from the homeland of Singapore. And wow, just this whole package together has really crafted a very engrossing album. Awesome, awesome stuff here. If you're into black metal, go check this out. In my opinion, it's one of the best black metal albums of the month. Just missed out on my top 5, but that's no knock on it. This month is stacked. In 6th place is a compliment. Is an awesome album. Go check it out. All right, now we are into the top 5, my 5 favorite albums from the month of April. So in 5th place, I'm going with an album that I did a full review of, and that is Blazon Rite with their album Wild Rites and Ancient Songs. So this is some traditional heavy metal from the USA. Like I said, I did a full review, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here. You can go check that out. But that album art, absolutely amazing. This has really unique vocals, more of a like baritone timbre to his voice, like very lower to mid-range as opposed to the high-soaring vocals that you might typically get in the genre. But this has so many catchy riffs and memorable songs. The vocals, yeah, probably not going to be for everyone. It might turn some people off from the album, but if you get into them, and I really have, I enjoy it a lot. I love their debut album, and this one even takes it up a notch. This is just awesome traditional heavy metal, the way it's supposed to be done. Amazing stuff in 5th place. All right, up next in 4th, something completely different. Going with Dodheimsgard and their album Black Medium Current. So, of course, these are legendary band from Norway. Just legendary for their weirdness, for their avant-gardeness, their experimental approach to like progressive black metal. Very hard to describe their sound. You just have to go check it out for yourself. I will say the production on this album is fucking perfect. You can hear every instrument, and that's exactly how they intended it to be. You get fully engrossed in the atmosphere of this album, and you just get sucked in. Like this, it totally envelops you in its weirdness, but you embrace it. It is so good. Like, maybe you have to be in the right mood to listen to this album. I won't just put this on anytime, because this isn't an album where you just want to go pick a song or listen to a couple songs or go running to it, for example. Like, you need to take your time, sit down, and do nothing else but just close your eyes, listen to it, and you will get sucked in and transported to another dimension. It is strange, it is weird, but it is so well executed. Honestly, I'm only putting in 4th because I think I'll probably listen to the next 3 albums on my list more. But if I'm just scoring this out of 10, this one could possibly be the highest score. But it's not always just about the musicianship or all that. Sometimes it's about how many times I think I'm going to go back to it. And I don't know as this is going to be an album I listen to every week or like all the time for that matter, just because of the strangeness and needing to be in the right mood. But that is not a knock on it. This is an amazing album. In 4th place. All right, up next in 3rd, I'm going with Ruadh and their album 1296. This band is from Scotland. This is a mix of folk metal and atmospheric black metal. I will say on this album, there's not necessarily a ton of music that I'd classify as black metal. Like, there is still some harsh vocals and some tremolo riffing, but this is really more about the epic soundscapes on the folk side and just really Scottish history. Obviously, a band like Sayor is going to come to mind. Clearly, that is their biggest influence. I would not put Ruadh on the same level of greatness as Sayor. I mean, Sayor is probably one of my favorite bands these days. I don't think this quite hits the level of epicness as that, but let's take this on its own right, and this is just good on its own. It doesn't have to just be a comparison with another band, and if I try to forget that, oh, well, this is good, but not as good as they are, well, take that out the window. Like, just listen to this for itself, and it's a very well done album. It's very enjoyable. If you're into this style of music, definitely go check it out. Awesome stuff. All right, I got 2 more albums to go. And guess what? Neither of them are black metal. That is a surprise for me when I'm doing my lists. Usually near the top, it's full of black metal because that's my favorite subgenre. But I do like some other genres as well, as these next 2 albums will show. They are both traditional heavy metal albums, and they both knocked it out of the park. Amazing stuff. So, in second place, I am going with Bloodstar and their debut album, First Sighting. So this is some traditional heavy metal from Utah. It features Jameson Palmer from Visigoth on guitar. As soon as I saw that, got my attention. I absolutely love Visigoth, one of my favorite bands from the traditional heavy metal genre. And this features Madeline Smith on lead vocals, and she just steals the show here. Absolutely amazing, great vocalist. It's not all about her vocals. Like, this is still full of catchy riffs and just hooky songs that are going to stick in your head. But wow, the vocals are amazing. It kind of has a similarity, I'd say, to like Brittany Slayes from Unleash the Archers. Maybe not hitting like the long, prolonged notes, but just like the timbre of her voice. In some spots kind of reminds me of her, but it's not just a comparison there. She has her own unique voice, and it's really well done. Like, I applaud the vocals. I applaud this whole album for a debut, and it's this good already. Maybe some complaints would be that it's too short. It's only 32 minutes, but for traditional heavy metal, that's all you need. I don't need an hour-long traditional heavy metal album. This is the right length. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Yeah, it ends before you want it to, but then you just want to go listen to it again. If you're into hooky, catchy heavy metal, definitely go check out Bloodstar and their debut album because it kicks ass. And that just leaves one more. Speaking of catchy, hooky heavy metal, this album that I'm going to talk about right now is possibly my favorite album of the year. Easily my favorite traditional heavy metal album of the year so far. I'm saying so far, not for the whole year. It's only goddamn April, so slow down. But yeah, without further ado, my #1 album of the month is Century with the album The Conquest of Time. So this is a band from Sweden, and you can just tell, even without looking up where they're from, that they are from Sweden. They are very much inspired by like the first wave of Swedish heavy metal from the early 80s with bands like Heavy Load, Gotham City. You get that exact vibe from this. This sounds like it was recorded in 1982 or 1983. Full of hooks. The guitar riffs on this album will blow your mind. And the vocals, yeah, really remind me of Heavy Load. This reminds me of Heavy Load a lot, so maybe because I'm such a fan of them is why I like this album so much. But if you're into old school Swedish heavy metal, you gotta do yourself a favor and go check out this album. It's got speedy tracks, like more thrashy riffs, and then it's also got some changes in pace too, with some like different styles of songs. It's not just one note the whole time, and this is just truly awesome from start to finish. Like I said, easily my favorite traditional heavy metal album of the year so far, and this month was absolutely stacked with traditional heavy metal, so that's no small feat. But yeah, go check this one out. I honestly can't recommend it enough if you're into the style. Might just blow your socks off with these guitar riffs. You will be banging your head for days. So anyways, these are just my thoughts and opinions as usual. Love to get yours down below. Let me know your favorite albums of the month. Maybe there's some I haven't heard, so I always like getting your recommendations. Give me some new stuff to listen to. That's what this is all about. Hopefully you got some new stuff to listen to from this list. And yeah, until next time, Hammer Heart Metal Reviews.